What Switch game should I buy is a question that you might have. So I'm gonna give you 9 different games that I think you should get. Some of them you might already have, but there's definitely gonna be some in here that you don't have yet, and I definitely recommend that you get them. So first of all, we should get all the super obvious Switch games out of the way because you probably... So the first one that you should have played by now is Super Mario Odyssey. Like, obviously you should have played this one because it's one of the best games, and most people would actually say it's the best Mario game. So that's the reason why it's on this list. If you haven't played it, you definitely should, because it goes back to the collectathon kind of style of 3D Mario games, and surprisingly it has a really good story even for a Mario game, and they don't usually have stories. It also has really fun gameplay, and Mario controls just like amazingly, and there's tons of content. So it has a bunch of late game stuff, so you'll be able to play this game for a long time. And it has okay multiplayer. It's not the best, but it's pretty good. So the next game that you should play is Breath of the Wild. So maybe if you just got a Switch, you might not have this, but I definitely recommend it. It's super fun. So because of Breath of the Wild's open world, there's so much to do, but a lot of it you don't actually have to do. So quite a bit of it is really optional, and if you're really good at the game, you can go straight to the final boss. But there's also so much content that you can do outside of that. So there's just tons of stuff, and if you ever run out of stuff, there's also DLC which you can buy, and just to get a little bit more out of the game. So that's why I'd recommend Breath of the Wild. If you haven't already noticed, there's this river here. That leads over to a waterfall. So another game that you should play is Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. So this one's really fun. It's just so good because it's one of the best multiplayer games, and if you're a really competitive type of person, you can learn so much about this game and go in so much depth compared to maybe if you don't want to do that. You can just play pretty casually, and it's really fun. And it's also one of the best multiplayer like party games if you have a bunch of friends who like it. And it also has tons of online modes and just different things like that. So I definitely say that this game is worth picking up. Buy Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. So if you haven't already gotten this game, you have to pretty much, because it's the most popular Switch game. And I think it's a really good game because it's like a party game, but you can play it with really anyone, even if they're not actually like a gamer or plays it that much, because like in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, you have to have people who actually kind of know what they're doing. Compared to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, you really don't. Pretty much anyone can pick it up and play the game and do just fine. So as you can see, the waterfall's right over there. But we're gonna be going to a better spot to see it in a second. But first, we're gonna take a look at 5. Number 5 would be Minecraft. So I don't even have this game on my Switch, but I just know that's an amazing game because I play it on my computer, and I don't know, it's just so fun. And one upside of it being on the Switch is that it's the Bedrock edition, which means you can play with anyone who has a phone, a computer, an Xbox, or not PlayStation, but everything else you can play with a Nintendo Switch. Sure, you can hear this, but I found the waterfall. Not much to do here. I probably just have to go home soon. Number 4, I gotta say, is Splatoon 2. So I find that this game is one of the best multiplayer games that isn't like a couch co-op one. Yeah, that's one of the downsides. It doesn't have couch multiplayer, which it's annoying, but you can play online with friends, which is really fun. And there's also Salmon Run, which is just so much fun. It doesn't seem like that much fun, but basically what Salmon Run is you defend this island for a little bit, and it's just, there's something about it that just makes it one of the most fun modes in Splatoon 2. So the next thing I like about it is that it has so many different multiplayer modes, and they're all really fun. So the multiplayer does run really well, and I find I don't have too much trouble matching in like lobbies and things like that very often. So I think that that's a pretty good aspect of it. In case you're not into online multiplayer games like that, there's also the single player modes, which are pretty fun. I think you can do Salmon Run by yourself. It's a bit more difficult like that, but you can also do this main story thing, which is, yeah, it's just a bunch of levels that make for a pretty good game. One of the main reasons it's on this list is because it's May right now, and in May, that's when the game is on sale. So it's on sale for, I think, around $42 US. So that makes the game a lot better, because if you didn't think it was really worth buying before, you can get this game on sale now, and it probably is worth the $42 instead of $60. So I really think you should get this game before the next Splatfest fast because it's the final one and you don't want to miss it. So I just kind of have this sheet so I could actually plan out this video a bit better. So now on to number 3, which is Luigi's Mansion 3. So the first thing you probably notice about this game is the amazing graphics. So it's kind of surprising how they got this game to work on Switch. And if you know all the other games, they're pretty much known for having really good graphics. So on the GameCube, Luigi's Mansion looked really, really good. They waited a long time before they made a sequel, but they made it on the 3DS. So Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon came out, and that game is one of the best looking games on the 3DS. It's so detailed, and the character models and stuff are so good. And then with Luigi's Mansion 3, they did not disappoint. This game is so good, and it really looks like a movie. Even when you're actually playing, it kind of looks like pre-rendered cutscenes. It's such a cool thing how amazing this game looks, and everything is just, it doesn't really feel like there's nothing that you'll notice that looks bad. That's what I find. But the graphics don't really matter too much. It's mostly about the gameplay. So in this game, the gameplay is really good because it's kind of a combination of the second game and the first game. So they have all the abilities that they introduced in Dark Moon, but it has that style of exploration like in the first Luigi's Mansion 3. So maybe if you have a 3DS, you can play both of those games. That's what I did. And it kind of makes this game the best of both worlds. So I'd recommend picking this up, but there's some kind of things that they're not too great about it, and that's that it's kind of like that old style of game where you beat it and you can't really do anything else after unless you go back to an old save file before you beat the boss. That's not super bad, but I wish there was kind of like more that you could do after you beat the boss. But pretty much what happens is you can go through and get all the collectibles, but you can only do that before you kill the final boss. You can't really go through after and have the mansion completely safe. So that's similar to the first game. Compared to Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon, you can go back and play whatever level you want, and it's pretty much the same experience each time. Another thing that is super good about this game is the multiplayer. So the other two games didn't really have multiplayer, except for the 3DS remake had okay multiplayer. So in this game, they just went all in on the multiplayer, and they added Luigi. So you can use him by yourself because he's required for some puzzles, but you can also use him in multiplayer, so you can have Luigi always out and Luigi, so one person controls each character. And it's so fun, and it's pretty much you can control it with one Joy-Con, so you can just pop off the Joy-Con. And but that's not all for multiplayer. There's also these scraper modes, I think that's what it's called. I haven't played around too much with these, but they're really fun. So as you can tell, I have a lot to say about this game, but what I'd recommend is play it, and then once you beat the game, you can still do some multiplayer or go back and get a bunch of gems, and you'll definitely get your money's worth because this is a long game and the whole thing is just amazing quality. Number 2, Animal Crossing New Horizons. So this game is probably one of the best games this year. It's kind of like the only game that came out this year. But this might be the reason why you bought a Switch and why you're watching this video about what games you should play for the Switch. So obviously this game is really good, and So Animal Crossing New Horizons is not a perfect game. It's probably not going to ruin the experience for you having these slight flaws, but it's definitely something to think about, because if you're a certain type of player, it could basically just ruin the entire experience for you. So some of these things might be that there's only one island per Nintendo Switch. So if you're playing with somebody, you might not want to share an island with them if you have like maybe a sibling or something. So you'll both have to be on the same island, and the second player doesn't have nearly as much stuff to do as the first player. So that's kind of the reason why this might ruin the game a little bit for you. So those are just some things that are pretty minor problems, but they could possibly ruin the game for you if you want to play it in some type of certain way. Before we get to number 1, I want you to leave a comment on this video that is a recommendation for what game somebody else should play. Also vote in the poll if you like the vlog style videos. So the number 1 game that I think you should play, so this might surprise you, but it's Pokemon Sword and Shield. So the reason why I think this is, most of the hate for this game was because people thought it was going to be better than it actually was. Like, they thought they were going to add so much more stuff, but turns out they didn't. It's pretty similar to Sun and Moon, not too much better. But I think a lot of people should give this game a chance, because I think some people were like not wanting to play this game because they heard so much like bad stuff about it, or if they did play it, they were just thinking of all the bad stuff the whole time. I think it's a good game, and I think the reason it got like so many people didn't like it is because they thought it was going to be like so much better. Like if you compared like whatever the Zelda on the Wii was, I forget what that one's called, Skyward Sword, to Breath of the Wild, there's obviously a massive difference because they made it way better. They didn't really do that with Pokemon Sword and Shield, so I think that's why people didn't like it that much. But if you like Sun and Moon, then probably like Sword and Shield because it's pretty similar, even though it's on the Switch and people are hoping it would be like way better. But I think it's a good game, and if you're the type of person that was really into like the Nintendo like news and stuff, you might not have wanted to get it because you would have thought that, oh, it's like it's such a bad game and stuff. But I think most people just bought it who aren't like interested in that because it's one of the best selling games on the Switch. So I think that's kind of the reason why I think you should play it. And also the graphics are actually pretty good because even though some of the trees look like N64 trees, like that sucks, but if you take a look at like the Pokemon camp is pretty cool because you have the Pokemon like running around, and if you focus on one Pokemon, it has this depth of field effect, and I think it looks really good. So just stuff like that is actually like really nice. And I also find the gameplay is really fun. Like just catching Pokemon and stuff like that. I honestly don't play Pokemon too much for the story. I liked Sun and Moon's story more than I'm liking Sword and Shield so far, but it's not too bad. Now the reason that this game is #1 on the games that you should play on your Nintendo Switch is because this isn't a list of the best games on Nintendo Switch, it's more a list of games that you should play. So I feel like a lot of people haven't given this game a chance, but I think you should pick it up and play it because even though it has high sales, I feel like some people watching this video will have just like assumed it's a bad game and just not bought it. So be sure to leave a like on this video if you enjoyed it and you like this kind of style where I combine gaming videos with vlogs kind of. And I thought it was a pretty cool idea, and if you liked it, then make sure to subscribe, and if you didn't like it, there's still obviously a bunch of regular gaming videos coming out soon on my channel. That's all for this video. Bye.